So today we're going to look at some basic sketching, little things that you can practice, and first of all I want to look at some of the equipment that you might use. Obviously sketching on blank paper is best if you can. If you can't, line paper is all you have, then that's fine. I like to do a lot of my sketching with pencils, and you can get pencils of varying hardness, and if you look on a pencil on the side, sometimes you will see, for example, HB, so that's a medium pencil. I'm trying to bring this up close so you can see it. So you should be able to see a HB just there. That's a normal kind of pencil, but you can get pencils, it's kind of HB kind of, I think, means half black. Sometimes this can be awkward to focus. You can get like H pencils, 2H, 4H, and they tend to be harder and they'll give you lighter lines. And then going the opposite direction, you have 2B and 4B, which are softer leads and will give you darker lines. I at the minute only have HBs, but I have different points on them. Okay, on these two. So I have a very sharp point here and a very bluntish point here, and I have a different length pencil. How you hold the pencil makes a difference. So you could hold it down here, a long way away from the tip, and you can get nice light lines, and it gives you a lot of freedom of movement because your wrist isn't close like this. I don't have my elbow on the desk, so I can do nice long curves. They're very light, and that's what I want at the minute. If I want to do heavier lines, it's easier if I come in close to the end of the pencil and I can put a bit more weight in this finger and get a bit heavier lines. If I keep my elbow off, I can get nice bigger curves, and if I want smaller curves, I'm kind of limiting the movement to my wrist. But by keeping my elbow up, when I want bigger curves, I've more freedom with my hand to move. So that's a pointy pencil, and I can get quite sharp curves. With this one then, I can get softer curves, softer lines. Because it's blunt, it's not as sharp, it mightn't be digging into the table. And this can also be good if I wanted to shade in something. If I wanted to gently put a light grey there. If I wanted to put a heavier grey, I can come in, shorten my grip and put more weight onto the pencil. And then sometimes just a short pencil is handy. I find this is handier if I want to do some really small work. Sometimes just the balance of it gives you a little bit more control. Whereas I find it, and it's a personal thing, trying to do that with a big long pencil, while it works, just doesn't feel as nice. So that's pencils. We use those the whole time, and obviously with a pencil then you want something like an eraser. A lot of artists don't think you should erase anything, but I think sometimes it's handy to do it, and I'll show you why in a minute. I'd always have a ruler handy, because while I want to draw freehand, I might need a guide that I want to be accurate, so I can draw the line with a ruler and then start using that line for my freehand stuff. Okay. Additional things that you should have if you want to do reasonable stuff. Have a couple of biros. Now these are two just ordinary ink biros or pens, right? And you can get nice lines with those, but what they're really good at is if you want to go over something and highlight it. So when I'm using my light pencil, I might be sketching in a curve here bit by bit, but that's kind of faint. I can come back with my pen and go over that and kind of get the line, a nice clear line. And then afterwards, once that's dried in, and the ink may not have dried in yet, I can get my rubber and gently rub out all of the pencil marks. And the line remains. And it can look quite like it's standing out, but it might have been a lot harder to do that curve with a pen first time, but I was able to do it gently with a pencil. These two pens are the same, except for this one has a soft grip on the end here. You might find that more comfortable, and this is a normal pen like you would use in school. Other pens that you can get, this is, what's this called again? A gel pen. Gel pens tend to leave a very clear line. It doesn't drop off, shall we say. If you draw a line, it's black from start to finish. Whereas with a pen like this, you can tend to, it just feels, or it looks like as if it's more, I'll move on to another page so we can compare them better. It looks more like it's fading off, feathering off at the end, whereas if we use this, it tends to stay black the whole way. Again, it's something you can use. This is a calligraphy pen for italic writing, but it has, if you can see the tip, I'll try and zoom in on this. If we see the tip, it's not a point, it's kind of thin on one side and flatter on the other. And that allows us to do different things, so we could draw a line this way and then go that way. I'm not great at using this, but you can kind of see the way that the line changes shape depending on the direction it's going. And markers like this really can be handy for colouring in or shading in areas as well. So you should mess around with different writing components. And sorry, last but not least, don't forget there are different coloured pens that you can use. So you might want to colour in a section a different colour. Colouring pencils as well are very handy, but colour can make things really pop. So remember, get a selection of things, mess around with them, see what you're comfortable with drawing, and like art is a feel thing as well. Right, so what I want to do is do a few exercises just to kind of warm up. And these are things that you nearly should be doing. You should be doing a little bit of sketching every day to get used to it. So I'm going to use my kind of medium weight pencil here now. And I want to practice drawing some lines, at vertical lines first of all. Now please bear in mind that I'm at an angle here videoing this, so I'm kind of slightly off to the left and you're slightly off to my right. Like I should be here, but I'm actually like that. And then you're looking in this way kind of. So what I want to do first of all, draw straight lines vertically, about that length, and I want to try and keep the gap between the lines the same and keep them the same length. Just to practice drawing vertical lines. Do that for a little bit and then I'll draw horizontal lines. And again, I want to keep the gap between the lines, I want to keep them parallel. And keep the same weight on them and keep them the same length. And then we can practice doing lines at an angle. Keeping the gap between them the same. Keeping them the same length. And we can go the opposite direction. Keep them the same length. Keep them the same width apart. So maybe you could pause the video now and have a go at doing some lines like that. Try maybe varying your weight, try out different pencils, see how you like it. So just have a little go at that for 2 or 3 minutes. Right, I hope you had a go at a few sketches and doing something like that. Now let's draw a couple of shapes. When you're sketching, you're going to find that a lot of things that you want to make are made up of simple shapes that you can kind of build together. So it's good to be able to draw simple shapes. So a square, so we have a line straight down, a line across, approximately the same length, across and down. Draw the square at an angle. Try and keep the two sides the same. So I've made a little bit of a mistake there, that's not a problem, we're only messing around. My angle here isn't great, it's not as easy on an angle. Maybe try and draw a rectangle. I'm going to turn the page here because I want to draw a rectangle this way. I might like to draw a rectangle here. Ooh, that looks a bit like a face. Maybe we could change this up a little bit. I could draw a line across here. Try and draw some parallel lines. And I'm trying not to go over the line here. That's his teeth. Eyes, what would he have for eyes? Circles. Circles are not easy. So I'm going to try and draw. So I'm drawing this lightly and just keep going around. And then maybe we'll draw this. He's a weird funny eye. And there you go. Basically I've drawn a funny face, weird kind of face. We could put a box or a square around this, try and get it. I see I've made a mistake. Do I care? Not one bit. Now I'm starting to see, hang on a sec, this looks like a bit of hair on the guy. Maybe if we put a line across here. He's got a funny head. Could put triangles on the side. And we've got a mad looking character altogether. I like this so much. I'm going to come back with a pen now and try and do a little bit more weight to give it a little bit more clarity. So I want this to come down here. And again, I'm not going slow or quick, slowly. I'm going quickly enough. Might give him a bit of a dimply look there. I'll have his hair. Ooh, that's not a good covering on that line. I think he might have this. We'll put this eye red, so that he looks a bit nuts. Should the other eye be red as well, do you think? Yes, I'll colour it in red. He's looking a bit crazy. Now I want to add a little shading to his hair, so I'm going to get my long medium pencil. I'm just going to add in a little bit of shading to the underside of each piece of hair. So it gives it kind of nearly a bit of a 3D appearance, or it gives it some depth. And there we go. I'm just having a bit of fun, bit of practice, bit of warm up. Saw a picture there and decided to make it into a crazy person. So what I would like you to do now is to pause and have a go at drawing some squares, rectangles. You could do triangles as well if you wish. And if a picture appears, have fun with it. It only appeared for you. I didn't plan this out, surprisingly. Despite my genius, this was an accident. So pause the video, have a little go, see if you can do something a bit fun. Okay, so we had a bit of fun there, hopefully. So now we're going to look at giving something a bit of depth or 3Dness. So 2D is when something is flat. So this is a 2D square. Hopefully you can see that in the corner. 2D square, it has a height and it has a width. So it has two directions, two dimensions, 2D. When something is 3D, it has depth as well. So we've got our depth going back this way, we've got our width going this way, and we have our height going that way. And to communicate, this is a bad back corner, to communicate well you have to learn how to draw in 3 dimensions. So that's 3D and that's 2D. And if you figure out how to draw in 4D, please let me know. Right. So we're going to practice a little bit of 2D drawing. So draw any kind of, we'll draw a nice shape like this. That's fine. Just drawing a random kind of curvy shape. So what I'm going to do is on the left hand side, I'm going to draw a straight line down about 1.5 centimeters. And then I'm going to come over to the right hand side. I'm going to do the same here and here. So those lines should be pretty much the same length going down. And now what I want to do is from this line to this line, I want to copy this shape as best I can. So this comes in, see the way I'm doing it with dashed, and then it starts to curve out, but we won't see it once it goes behind there. So that's that one done. And I want to copy from here to here, this curve. So again, it curves down a little bit and then it comes around. And see the way I'm doing these short little strokes and only touching off the pencil. And there we go, we've drawn something in 3D. We can give it a little bit more depth by adding in some shade. So imagine the sun was shining in from this direction. Where would the sun hit? It would hit this side first, but it wouldn't hit this side of the back. So maybe we could shade that in a little. So I'm just drawing a lot of vertical lines there, and we've given it a bit more depth. Let's do something a little bit more complicated. I'm going to draw a shape like this. And again, I've just drawn any shape. I haven't said, right, this is the funny, weird melted butterfly I'm going to draw. Any shape. And again, I'm going to draw vertical lines from the leftmost edges and the rightmost edges. So, a line here. There's going to be a bit of a line here. It's a left edge. We wouldn't see a line there. Would we see one here? Maybe a little. I'm just going to draw it in. We definitely would see the ones here and here. So now we want to kind of copy the shape that we have onto this bottom level. So here it goes in, and we probably would, it'd probably disappear under there somewhere. Now, what we would see, this one might be hard to know, but would we see this? No, we wouldn't. Now if we look at that one, we wouldn't see that either. So this line was pointless. Now, I'm going to do this left edge here. So from here to here, I want to copy this shape as best I can. So it goes in, and then it starts coming around. And once it goes in behind this surface, I can't see it anymore. And now we're going to copy this curve here. And it goes right in. So this is a little bit tricky. I'm going to come at it from the other side. And that's pretty much the shape that we want. Now let's give it more depth by adding shade. So the sun is shining in from this direction. So what do I want to do? I'm not going to see it here. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. This is obvious. Shade that in, because the sun can't get over the edge. But when it comes around this corner, at about this point here, so I'm bringing the pen up to see, at about that point here, it stops hitting. So try and imagine with our ruler here, there's the sun, the rays, and we hit this corner here. That's where the sun is going to stop hitting it. So it's actually somewhere around there. We can start shading in that. And then the sun is going to come over, and it'll come over the edge. So we might want to make this something and give it a bit more depth. Can you see how that's looking a little bit more 3D now with those shapes? So do you want to try and give that a go? Draw a few funny shapes like this, and I'll see what I can do while you're doing some practice there. So we're going to finish up today with this little exercise that you just saw me doing. It's a churchy-like building. It wasn't particularly meant to be a church. I just ended up riffing kind of in a sketchy type way. So how did I do this? Make it 3D and stuff. Excuse me. Well, I started off just by drawing a couple of rectangles. I gave myself a ground line and I drew a couple of rectangles, and we'll add in another one over here. So these were going to be kind of my buildings. And then I decided to give it depth by going back this time. Instead of coming down, I want my buildings to go back this direction. So I picked a distance and I went back from each corner, that roughly that same distance, and I kept the angle the same. So the angle that this is going at should be the same in all of them. I picked a distance I thought was appropriate, and now I'm copying this shape from there. So I'm going up until they meet, then it comes across, so I'm coming across until they meet, And now I'm going up, so I'm going to go up until they meet. They don't quite meet. Across this way, so across. Now it goes down here to this one, so what I need to do is go here, like that, to finish off. And that's the bones of the building. And after that, then I decided, sure, look, I'll add a roof in here. So I might add a roof on this one for a change. So I'm going to draw a roof on this surface lightly that I like the look of. That's about halfway, and join it up to the other corner. Now I want that to be brought out, so I bring out the roof. And from this corner here, I want to go at the same angle as this line. So I'm not drawing on that line, but I'm running my hand on it a couple of times to get the feel for that angle. That feels good. I'm going to copy this one as well. Well, that's pretty close. And now I start putting in a little bit more detail. I thought about where the sun might be in this picture. So I'm figuring the sun is coming in from this direction. So the rays of light are going, that's going to be in shadow there. So I have that shaded in slightly. It mightn't be easy enough to see on the picture. And I have this surface here in shadow as well, so that they're darker than these surfaces. And I kind of figured if the sun was coming at this angle, this edges would hit here. So I put a line and shaded in this as well. And I did the same here. It's coming in. Where would it hit the ground? Somewhere around there. But as you can see, it's all done quite rough and quite quickly. But it still looks pretty decent. And it gets the message across of a building. The last thing I did, I added in some stuff outside, like doorknobs, letterbox, a tree. Doesn't look like a tree, but it gives the idea of a tree. And then I took my ink pen and I went around the edges just to make them pop that little bit more. Probably should put that one in as well. And now the whole thing stands out. The shading of the pencil looks a little better. Have a go at an exercise. What I'd like to see you submit for this is something like this page, at least, where you practice doing some horizontal, vertical and diagonal lines and some shapes. So take a photo of that and submit it. And you should try doing something like this, a couple of these, try them out and see they are. And if you feel like it, try drawing a building and give it a little bit of character and oomph. Guys, I don't expect any of you to be brilliant at this straight away. Well, except maybe one or two of you. But in general, it takes practice, it takes time. It takes trying 10-15 minutes almost every day, thinking about it and developing up little skills. Building up a selection of pens and pencils that you can use and getting comfortable with it. But it's a great communication tool. I can show this picture to anyone in the world and they have a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about. And that's where the real power of it comes in. So practice, practice, practice. Have a go at that, and thank you for watching and making the effort. Goodbye.